Okay, y'all. All right. I guess this is part three of making my own cold air intake or uh, modifying the K&N piece. Let me get one thing out of the way right up front. I love K&N's products, and they're all great. And I'm not giving them any disrespect whatsoever. But I think sometimes when you're building things, sometimes you have to sometimes do stuff that you don't want to do, and sometimes that stuff is like you have to put the cold air intake setup in here, in here, and you have to set it up so that it's serviceable and maybe transmits noise inside the cab so that some people will say, oh yeah, that cold air intake is really working, man, and you're probably saving a lot of gas and you're probably making a lot more power and yada 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 yada. Well, okay, fine, whatever. I have done some 0 to 60 tests with this truck, with this cold air intake setup on here. Now, a couple other things. Let me get this out of the way. This setup came on the truck when we bought it, so there is no, hey, let's just go back and use the factory original stuff. I was honestly thinking about that and, was wanting to do that. And I even went to several junkyards trying to find an original air induction, air box, air cleaner box and assembly, no dice. I looked at several junkyards. There's nothing there. There's none. There's some of these trucks there, but they're all, I mean, they hit them hard. As soon as, people hit these trucks hard. As soon as they get there and they're parting these things out. And I mean, people are ripping this shit out and just throwing stuff everywhere. And it's just crazy. So, yeah, that's not going to happen probably. Now, however, you know, engineers, when they design stuff like this, they have to make compromises. And when a hot rodder is building something, some of those compromises can be ignored. Like, I don't necessarily need to hear the air rushing past the throttle blades in there and making that whoosh sound, or that deep tone, that you hear when you you push the throttle pedal all the way down. I don't need to hear that. I don't mind hearing it, but I don't have to hear it. Okay, so that's the big difference. So that's the problem. That's the thing, is that when engineers set up this stuff, you know, when they build things the way they do, they have to make compromises sometimes. And I think that was some of the compromises that the engineers at K&N may have made. Now, that box, now this is definitely K&N. The filter is definitely K&N. The box that it was sitting in, don't know. Now, that may be somebody else's. I don't know. And maybe K&N contracted that engineering out to somebody else, and then they did it, and then they were like, okay, that's good enough, you know. And it's not good enough for me though. I just don't like it. So, all right, it doesn't look like I've gotten much done, but actually I have. Okay, I'm going to take this out, this bolt here for the headlight assembly, and just take it out. Just take the headlight assembly out altogether because it's unplugged completely. And then the filter here is just sitting there. I'm probably not going to use this filter because the opening here is 4 inches. My pipe I've constructed is 3.5. So I know I'm going down 1/2 inch. You know, I don't think it's going to hurt that much because we are talking a 4.7 liter V8. I think 200 and, correct me if I'm wrong, 235, 250 horse, something like that. I don't know for sure. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, all right. Enough chit chat. All right, but I need to tell you something. You all have went and done it. We're up over 980 subscribers. I cannot thank you enough. So that is really, really big to me. I do apologize about the fan going. It's drying that filter. This is probably the filter I'm going to be using, at least for the time being. It's a little beat up, but it's not bad. And I'm drying it right now. Got this fan running on it right here to dry it out. I actually wound up cleaning this thing twice. It was that dirty. The previous owner who had this thing, he didn't know that you could actually take these apart and clean them. So, but like I was saying, I got drifting there a little bit. Like I was saying, I thank you so much for tuning in and watching and subscribing and the likes and the shares and the thumbs ups and all of that stuff. So, really, really, really do appreciate that. Okay. All right. Let me show you what I've been doing. Okay. First of all, this monstrosity has been constructed, and I'm okay with it. The welds aren't the prettiest, but I am using a flux core welder, a gasless flux core welder. So, and I taught myself how to weld. So, not a professional welder, so, but I'm going to be grinding on this to make it look a lot nicer, and not only make it look nicer, but actually maybe help it function a little bit better too, and be easier to handle. I won't get cuts and scratches from it. I worked on this a little bit yesterday too, and a little bit this morning. Just cleaning it up. This was part of this exhaust pipe over here. I needed a 90, and it, yeah, you can see that it's like really, really heavily coated with mud. This one was too. I washed a lot of the mud off. What was left was just baked on. I got a wire brush on my grinder there and just ground it, cleaned it all off. No big deal. I cleaned inside too with Scotch-Brite to get any kind of loose debris out of there. I will probably clean it some more with some brake parts cleaner. I'm going to go over it with a die grinder, or not a die grinder, but I'm going to go over it with a grinder, maybe a file, and knock these burrs down. Right there, you see that burr. So, anyway, all right. I gave you a little overview of what I've been doing. Just a plan in my head, and which is usual, just a plan in my head, and go and take that plan and put it into motion. So that's what I'm doing here. And for those of you who are asking, why not just go and get a cold air intake from somebody else, from another manufacturer? Just order it, get it, ship to your house and all that, put it on your truck, and you're done deal. Well, a couple of good reasons. One is money. Remember, this is a low buck channel, and I don't really want to spend that kind of money, because some of those cold air intakes are getting pretty steep anymore. They're getting pretty expensive, so I don't want to do that. Secondly, since the pandemic and everything, we have this tremendous wait time that is upon us, and so now we have to wait for stuff for like forever. I'm not necessarily bitching. I'm just saying that's just the way things are nowadays, and that's just something we have to live with. Secondly, I think it's, that's just something we have to deal with. Also, too, I think it's just I just wanted to try doing this myself. I had made a cold air intake for this, my Barracuda. I think I've showed it in some of my previous videos. Matter of fact, I know I have. So you can, watch the Barracuda videos and you can see them. Okay, I'm going to get started, get busy. So let's talk more work and show you all the progress. Okay. All right. Be right back. Okay, y'all. All right. I have got some news to report. Okay. Doing a little mocking up here, and I just want to show you what's going on. I've got the hood completely closed, and I'll show you why. So, look at that. Okay, yes, I know, bungee cord, da 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 da. I don't have a bracket made yet to hold this up, but I will. I will. Okay, I'll make a bracket. I'll probably come off of here and come down here with some tabs and hold this thing up properly, securely, like it's supposed to be. But you can see pretty much, you see the top of that radiator. I don't know if you can see it, but everything's lining up pretty good. I've just got to finish doing some stuff. I'm probably going to, this clamp is very, very tight. This is one of those, it's not a V-band clamp, but this is like from a big truck, big rigs. So it's not like this kind of style of hose clamp. This is a little different animal, which I'm very happy to have. Set those down. All right, so I've got my adapter boot there. Now, you might be saying, why not go 3.5 or 4-inch, or why not go 4-inch all the way out? Well, here's a couple of reasons. One, that throttle body is 3.5 inches. Okay. This brace here is in the way. Okay. So with a lot of finessing, I was able to get, as you can see, there's that pipe right there, and as you can see, that is part of the fender right there. I had to bend that out yesterday to get that to fit. Yeah, headlight assembly's right over there, and so, all right, so next I got to make the boot for this. I don't have a pre-made boot yet. I have one I can modify. I've got one that's too big. I'm going to cut some section out of it, make it smaller, put it in. Okay? Because I did not go and buy a 4-inch to 4-inch boot. So, anyway, all right. I'm not really looking to gain a lot more power from this setup. I'm looking to gain more mileage. That's my main goal. If I can get 2 or 3 more miles per gallon out of this, I think it's going to be great. But it clears the hood, clears the grill, which is one of my main concerns. Clears the headlight. I've already had the headlight in with this assembly in. So everything's clearing. Everything looks like it's going to work. So now I just got to get back to work and get busy. So that's what I'm going to do. All right. I'm going to take some stuff loose, get this out, and start doing some grinding and show you the results later. Okay? All right. I'll be right back. Okay, y'all. I'm going to show you the dirty, ugly side of all of this. There is the dirty, ugly side. It was worse in there. Okay? Some of that is from me welding up holes that occurred in there. And I've been grinding that down with stone there on my drill. As you can see, there's powder that came out of the pipe here and landed down there on the ground. If you are doing this, get yourself some light up inside there, and then you can see stuff pretty good. See? All right. Now, I know this will affect airflow and may cause serious trouble. However, we are talking an engine that makes like 250 horse, maybe something like that. So I'm not terribly, and none of this is under pressure. Okay, so I'm not worried about that. And later on, I can come back and do some more grinding on that. But right now, I've got to get to a stopping point and move on. I found some little pinholes in the weld here, so I just came out here and done that. What this is a result from is from two pipes being at very sharp angles to one another. Okay? So that's how come this is like this. Okay? So that's why that is. That's JB Weld right there. 2-part epoxy. A few little tips. One, this is actually quick weld, but same thing. Same stuff applies. If you're using JB Weld and you never used it before, squirt out equal amounts of steel and hardener. One rule I go by though is I will do that. I will mix it up and I will look at my mixture. If it's too dark, if it's still kind of blackish looking and not sort of a battleship gray, I'm going to add more hardener in small amounts. Okay? However, if it gets too light, then I'm going to add a little more steel. But usually when I squirt it out, it comes out really dark, and so then I have to add more hardener. That usually works for me pretty well. And again, none of this is under pressure. Okay, so this isn't like, there's a turbo blowing air through here or something like that. Okay, or exhaust, This is not going to be under pressure. It's not going to be under heat. So there you go. Furthermore, when you're doing this, you want to probably let it set up for several hours. Maybe even as much as 24 hours. It should be hard. Here in the camera it looks sort of darkish, but that's sort of a battleship gray. That's what I'm aiming for. This should be hardened. When it hardens, it will be hard just like that. It should not be soft or spongy or rubbery. Okay, so there you go. Once this is hardened, you can grind this, file it, shape it, whatever you need to do. So, anyway, alright, so that's enough on the JB Weld. Okay, so it busted loose raining on me out here. And so now I'm going to go and take this and put this on. Yeah, I've got to get going. I've got somewhere I've got to be later, a little bit later. So I've got to get all of this rig put together. And I'm actually excited to see how it's going to do. So, now I know there are, this welding on here brings to mind for me something that's really super important. And that is, when you are doing something, you're always going, and you're doing it for the first time, or you're doing it for, maybe the third or fourth, or maybe even the 50th time. It doesn't really matter. Sorry about that. Excuse me. Had to get a drink. Anyway, you could be doing it the third, the fourth, or the 50th time. It doesn't really matter. And you're going to have critics, and they're going to come up and they're going to say, well, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you do that? Well, why didn't you make it like this? Or why didn't you make it like that? And who did that welding? Ugh. Oh. That's so gross. It's so awful. Here's something that a very, very experienced welder once told me. This welder does a lot of heavy structural welding on buildings. I'm talking the big I-beam girders and that sort of stuff. Yeah. That big stuff. Okay. He told me once, he said, just because it's pretty doesn't mean it's going to work. A lot of race car people say, chrome won't get you home. pretty don't make it. My uncle used to say that. And so I tend to believe that. I've done a lot of structural welding on my Barracuda here, and it hasn't let me down. It hasn't failed me. So I'm pretty happy with that. Considering the fact that I've had very, very little instruction from anybody. I've watched some YouTube videos. I've watched some other people welding. I've listened to them. I've listened to other people talking about welding and stuff. But the thing of it is that you can, sooner or later, you can watch all the videos you want, but sooner or later, you have to decide when you're going to get out there and get busy. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so I had to make sure I turned the camera on. So what I'm saying is, you can read a lot about it, certain subjects. You can, hang around with people who know a lot about that certain subject. You can get pointers and tips and help from them. But sooner or later, you got to get out there and you got to get on it and do it yourself. Sooner or later, you got to put away the books. You got to put away all the stuff, and you got to get out there and get busy. And for the folks who said, let me just tell you something. All of my life, I have faced the same thing from multiple people. And I'm holding the camera in one hand, putting this light up with the other. Okay, I've faced the same thing multiple times from quite a few different people. And I'll just tell you what it is. It's always the same old story. Same old song and dance. They'll come to you and they'll say, hey man, you need that welding done, you need this done, you need that machine work done, or whatever. Just let me know, man. I'll knock it out for you. I'll clear my calendar. I'll help you out, man. Just let me know. Let me know. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And then, maybe I'll, or, they might say, hey, man, you need to borrow that, to do that job with. Let me know. I got a metal brake. I got a sheet metal brake. It'll be very handy. You're like, yeah, sure, yeah, I'll do that. And then you call them up one day and say, hey, man, I need you to weld this piece of pipe for me, or I need to borrow that piece of equipment real quick, or can I come down there and just use it? Oh man, I sold that piece of equipment, or no, it's broken right now, or no, I can't let you use it right now, or no, I can't weld that pipe up for you right now. I'm sorry, man. I'm really, really busy. Got a lot going on, And it's usually always that same story again and again and again and again. And honestly, I just get tired of it. That's why I went and got a welder, picked it up, and started using it. So, there you go. My little story time there, about welding and wanting, depending on other people, to do stuff for you, and then they just don't come through. They just drop the ball. Now, I'm not saying that, there aren't people out there who won't come through in a pinch and do that stuff for you, because there is. There is some really great people. You may have some neighbors or friends or kinfolk that are like that. But for me, it's usually, I'm building a car. Who's helping you? Me. That's usually the way it goes for me. Wendell, I'm drawing a blank on his last name. His first name's Wendell. This guy, he was African American, black man, African American, and I normally don't talk about race or anything like that on here, but I will say this: I saw his story years ago, ages ago. I first found out about his story on on a movie. It was called Grease Lightning, and it was really, it had Richard Pryor playing Wendell, and he was a NASCAR stock car driver, you know, in the 40s, tried to, or in the 50s and 60s, and he had discrimination, tremendous discrimination, which, you know, very, very sad. I mean, you know, I think about racing, and I think that racing, you know, winning a race should be determined by, you know, not a man's skin, not a person, sorry, man, woman, not a person's skin color or race or religion or anything like that, you know, political whatevers or anything like that. It should be determined by who crossed the finish line first, you know, and but they discriminated against him some. Later, they did right those wrongs, but, and I'm not drawing comparisons from me to him. No, no, no. I mean, no, no, sir. No, not. I mean, not like, you know. I'm just saying I was inspired by him. Okay, I was tremendously inspired by him. You know, even though I saw the movie at a very young age, and I went back and I searched YouTube for stories about him, stuff like that. And honestly, he's one of those unsung heroes in my book. And honestly, I think he should have went in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. You know, he should have been one of the first people, or one of the first people that got in there. So, all right, I've chatted long enough. All right, but anyway, so I'm going to put this monstrosity. I got to clean this up inside here. There's still some grinding material and stuff like that. I'm probably going to just run water through here to get everything cleaned out. Probably use a Scotch-Brite in here too. And then I'm going to start assembling everything. The elbow is almost completely ready to be put in. I'm going to clean it up inside too. Even though I've already cleaned the inside of it up once, I'm going to clean it up again. So, can't get this stuff too clean. I do not want the debris from all of that work winding up inside the engine. So, all right, here we go. I'll be right back. Okay, y'all. As you can see, it's all bolted up. Hopefully, it will all work. I have some suspicions that I may have to go back and redo a couple of things. That's not uncommon, you know. So, let me try closing the hood real quick. Had to move the truck in here to get it in out of the rain. Get everything in out of the rain because it was starting to rain on me. And starting to rain on stuff I was working on, so. Oh, it might help if I move that light. Yeah. Yeah. All right, there we go. Yeah. Alrighty. Yeah. Might help if I move that light right there. Okay. All right. All right. We're still good. Everybody's good. Okay. All right. So let me try closing the hood now. Make sure everything. Yeah. I think everything's going to be all right there. Filter's not hitting. Nothing's hitting. Let's see. Can I reach down here? Yep. There we go. I tell you what. Let's just start it up. Might help if I get the keys out of my pocket. Oh. Let's see. Oh boy. You know. Got a lot going on here. Okay. paying attention to the RPMs right now. There they go. They're coming down. The check engine light is because I moved the truck and last night and this morning, and I didn't have the AIT sensor plugged up. Air intake temperature sensor. My fault. Yeah, the lamp is out because the headlight's not plugged up. So, pop the hood. I think it just clears the grill structure there. All right, I'm going to put some sort of little bracket here and at least support this temporary, you know, some sort of clamp and a bracket. So anyway, all right. I think I can say this. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me rev it up here one time at least. I think that's okay. Now I may have to go back and make some changes. That's not uncommon. You know, you do something and then later on you find out, wait a minute, I did this wrong, or I could have done it a different way. That's the way it goes. So let me shut this off. Talking over that. Thunderous 250 horsepower. Okay. Okay, yeah. I remember the guy's name, Wendell Scott. If you don't know who I'm talking about, look him up for yourself. Tremendously one of those people I just look up to, and he had a lot put in his way. I mean, he was racing in a white male-dominated sport in the 50s and 60s when they didn't want him in there. And nobody wanted him in there. They didn't want him at the racetracks, and they didn't want him anywhere else. And it was pretty bad. And but he persevered. He kept on going. He didn't let none of that stuff stop him. And that's what I draw inspiration from. He just kept on trucking. It didn't matter. You know, he didn't have big time factory support. He didn't have all of this other stuff. You know, why I launched into that was because when I said, you know, what I was talking about earlier about, you know, the welding and doing it myself and that sort of stuff and not having to rely on other people. And, you know, who built that Barracuda? Me. I remember seeing in Hot Rod Magazine, they had a picture of Wendell Scott, one of Wendell Scott's race cars. I think it was a 62 Chevrolet Impala. Probably was a Biscayne, but it was like one of the race car, you know, it was made to be a race car from the factory, that kind of thing. And it was probably 409 and, you know, single 4-barrel and that kind of thing. What's really important though about that to me is that he had on the name. He had the name on the side. It said engineer, me, mechanic, me, and all that sort of stuff. So I draw a lot of inspiration from that, and I think it's really great. And so, all right, let's keep going here, okay? I got a little bracket I'm going to put on here and put on there, and I hope I see a little hole right there, so I think maybe I can use. Oh, I'm sorry, my apologies. Got a little bracket. I'm going to put it right here. Open it up here a little bit. Get you a better idea of what I'm talking about. You see, like that maybe, and that way, maybe. Yeah, there we go. Maybe more like that. Okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna get on with that, and then I'm gonna start putting stuff away and getting ready to go. Okay. All right. We'll see you. All right. Give you another update here in just a minute. Okay, y'all. All right, I got this clamp bolted on there. There was a hole there in that bracket, or this piece here, and I bolted that up there. I went and also put this piece of hose. I just took a piece of old heater hose, cut it, 5/8 heater hose, cut it lengthways, and then slipped it over this AC tube so that this wouldn't rub a hole in that. I did the same thing over here with this AC line. So there you go. All right. I'm going to probably drive this here in just the next few minutes or so, maybe within the next 20 or 30 minutes, and then that's going to be that. And all right, I hope you all were able to learn something from this. Probably something along the lines of, I will just go and buy one from the store. Yeah. So I've still got to hook up my headlight. I'll just go ahead and show you that when you're taking one of these in or out. It's okay. Just having a little trouble. A little bit of trouble. I don't think it's anything I can't handle. But just a little bit of trouble. So, what are we hitting? What's hitting where? Good grief. Oh, I see what's wrong. Little tabs there were hung up here on the fender. So, okay. All right. Okay. Pretty simple back here. This part here goes into a hole over here in the fender, okay? And then this part here has a plastic receiver over here in the fender as well. Helps stabilize that so it's not floating around. But there's also a bolt that's hidden. It goes down here on the very bottom. And I'll show it to you when I get that out. Once I get this all put back together. So, let's see. Now, if you are doing something like this, make sure to, check and recheck your clearances everywhere so that nothing's rubbing. Make sure that you're not like tearing into like hoses and stuff isn't like pinching hoses and electrical wires and stuff like that. Now when you're doing this, over here, this headlight, let's see, I'm trying to get this. Okay. See that? There's a hole right there that goes in, and I've almost got it lined up. Well, I almost had it lined up. Let's say that. I'm gonna have to set the camera down for just a minute. I'll be right back. Okay, I think this is a much better view of that, what I was talking about. There's that little prong there. It goes in that hole to hold it in place, and that plastic piece goes into this little receiver back there. I've got the rest of the bolts in the cab of the truck, so. But, oh boy. Oh no. Okay. Yep. Gotta follow my own advice. Oh boy. Okay. Alright. I think the clamp here may have to get 86'd or so that this can move up just a little bit. Clear the headlight. Okay. I'll report back to you. Be right back. Okay, y'all. Wow, this is a long video. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. All right, here it is. It's finished. It's still not perfect, but I think this is going to work really well. So I'm going to be test driving it here in just a few minutes. I've got to get something to eat. So, yeah, kind of convoluted the way the air has to go in there, but that's the way it is. Yeah, if I do it over again, not this particular brace, but the one on the passenger side, just like it, I'm going to cut it out, cut a notch in it, and then I'm going to plate it to reinforce it, and then I'm going to have tons and tons and tons of room for something like this, maybe even a 3.5-inch pipe. So, all right, I will make another video showing the effects of it, how it's doing, how good it works, and everything like that. All right.